2 a.m. I will put up a story with my son singing next to me, not sleeping, and I'll be dead tired.
Blackmail was the only thing that my mom used to raise me. And she will say, Sami vandu kanna kuttiro.
We will reach at 11.
Okay.
And his teacher will be like, the learning class is almost over.
Okay.
Like, it's okay, take him for lunch and make him sleep.
சின்ன வயசுல என்னலாம் என்ன பண்ண என்னடி உனக்கு தூக்கம் எந்திரி.
I will burn stuff, I will spill, the entire kitchen will be a mess.
Sometimes you feel like that person that's there at your home is not even the person that's there in office.
I cry in my car. My car is my safe space.
Oh, no, my belly shouldn't be seen.
Yeah, kannu vechiruvaanga.
We are made to feel like you are less of a mother if you are getting help.
I remember one of my friend telling me that you are using your son as an excuse.
Because all the IUI treatments that you go through are for the women.
Yeah. The first thought after having him was like looking at my body and hating myself.
Your eyes are wet, but at the same time you also have a smile on your face. I don't think even I have that courage.
You have your own life.
Yeah.
You are special in your own way. Yeah. Be happy.
I have Katie with me. She's joining in for this wonderful episode where we're going to be talking about working mom, a day in the life of a working mom. How does it look, and how does a working mom juggle both home and work, and how does she take care of her family, her kid, her career. So there's a lot of successes and challenges that we'll be talking in today's episode. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for actually, calling me in. I'm pretty excited to be here.
How does it feel to be a mom?
One line is exhausting.
Okay.
Most of the times it's like exhausting.
Okay.
But it is a very different feeling, I can say, the feeling of a mother, I can just say that I can term the feeling as a motherhood. It is a feeling by itself.
Right, yeah.
It will be a combination of all the different emotions that brings in both negative as well as the positive, and then clubbed together, and then it becomes a whole new feeling.
Okay.
So motherhood is a feeling by itself.
Okay, a lot of mothers that I've spoken to, they almost have this similar opinion that you said, which is very contrary to what they will post on Instagram. Their Instagram story will have a really happy side to it, saying this is the best moment of my life. After this, my life has changed. This person, this cute little thing that happened to me has changed my life forever. And then that is a tone that they use. And when you come back to office and talk to them, that little thing has changed my life forever.
Yes, there is a series in Netflix called Working Moms.
Oh yeah, I've
seen that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one character, Anne, she says that it is a circus act. It is like a circus act. Yeah. And she will say, except that the lions are toddlers. The cubs are like toddlers. So there will be some story in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. I will put up a story with my son singing next to me, not sleeping, and I'll be dead tired. And he will be singing one rhyme again and again and again. And he will not move away from me.
But for people who are viewing it for one time, they would feel like, oh, it's so cute. But yeah, you have been listening it on loop for so many times. You're like, can you please stop singing?
Yeah. I think it's a mixed crowd in my friend list. Some of the mothers will be like, oh, it's so cute. Yeah. And other mothers will be like, +1. So
yeah, right. Now coming to juggling work and your motherhood. So having a kid around, even when they're baby, until they become toddlers, it's always the disproportionate amount of labor that a mother takes in compared to a father is actually a little more, if we have to be very honest. Right, because you have to stay up in the nights and you have to feed the kid, and also kids are a little more clingier to the mothers because they are used to being with them a lot. So it is really stressful in that kind of an environment to manage work and home. How do you deal with that?
I think I can categorize into 3. So there are these good days, and then there are these absolute chaotic bad days,
Okay.
and there are these bittersweet days.
Okay.
Right? And when are these good days, no, you will not feel anything. Everything will be smooth from morning till evening, late at night.
Okay.
Whatever he does will not bother you at all.
Okay.
And even if he's being very cranky, it won't.
Okay.
It sort of sticks like that. I think you are in elevated zone, like nothing is getting to you. And even in those good days, he will also be good.
Okay.
He will do whatever I want him to do. He will
Right.
be such a sweet kid.
Okay.
And it is all smooth. And this bad chaotic days, it's just bad. I have no other word to term it.
Okay.
It's just bad.
Okay.
So if whatever can go wrong, everything will go wrong.
Right.
Right? So he will not wake up.
Okay.
He will not take bath.
Okay.
Just when we will be very late. So his school starts at 9:30.
Yeah.
We will reach at 11.
Okay.
Okay. And his teacher will be like, is all the classes, the learning class is almost over.
Okay.
We'll be like, it's okay, take him for lunch and make him sleep. So that will be my response. So
Okay.
even in those days, he'll be like, just we are about to leave, he'll be like, Mom, I want to poop.
Oh.
And then I will, after all that fiasco happening at home, I will get down, go to my car, and then I will realize that I forgot my keys.
Oh God.
And I
Okay.
will be carrying my bag,
Okay.
his two bags,
Okay.
and I am petted. So
Okay.
I will be already struggling with all of these things.
Yeah.
Then I'll be like, oh, I have to go back again.
Okay.
So when it is bad, it's
Really bad.
absolute bad. There is a lot of mental load,
Yeah.
and emotionally you are
Torn apart.
it is very difficult that you have to control yourself so that you don't show that to your child.
Right. Right.
It is very, very difficult now that we are in a stage where younger moms are trying to be very mindful with their kids,
Right.
not passing the generational trauma to
Yeah,
their kids,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it is very difficult to realize even at that low point that it is our own emotions,
Right.
and it is not to be projected to a kid.
Right.
So at that lowest point, it is extremely difficult.
How do you vent it out? When you told me that you forgot your car key and you're in that car parking, and then your kid, you have to wants to poop and everything is running in your head.
Yeah.
How do you vent that out?
So exact at that moment, I will tell you what all the things that I will be feeling.
Yeah.
First thing is that I will realize that how heavy are the things that I'm carrying.
Okay.
And exactly the physical weight,
Yeah.
you will feel it inside your heart.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
Like the day is just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it's a whole new space after you go to your work.
Right.
Right? And your heart starts pumping,
Yeah.
and you get really anxious. And sometimes what I do is like I just drop everything on the floor. I just sit down, talk to him, eye to eye. I will tell him that, Amma is sad. So can you please help me?
Okay.
So if I use these magic words, so he has these 3 magic words.
Okay.
Please, sorry, and I think excuse me.
Okay.
So if I say all of these things, sometimes or most of the times he understands.
Right. Okay.
I don't know how he picks it up.
Yeah.
When I see this, say to him like, please, can you
Right.
help me?
Right.
Amma is feeling very sad,
Yeah.
and it's difficult for me.
Yeah.
He'll be like, he will think, and then he will stop whatever he's doing.
Okay.
All the tantrums or the crankiness.
Yeah.
It won't abruptly stop,
Okay.
but it will reduce to a certain extent. If I have an honest talk with him rather
Right.
than showing my emotional side,
Right.
it's like he understands.
Right. Yeah.
But if I pick him with my emotional side, and then I try to push him down or try to say that, I'm really angry, I will do something which you don't like, we do that, right? நீ இந்த மாதிரி பண்ணனா உனக்கு இது கிடையாது. So if I go to that route, no, it is very difficult. It doesn't work with him.
It didn't work with us also. I think when we were kids also, when our moms used to.
But to a certain extent, I was really scared when my mom used to do that. So she will be like, if you do this, teacher kitta solliduven. In the manla, if she says, I will be like,
blackmail was the only thing that my mom used to raise me. That's all I'll say. She has invented a lot of characters like Jerkin Bomma. Somebody will wear a jerkin and then they'll come and scare me so that I eat the food. And she will say, Sami vandu kanna kuttiro. So you're supposed
kaaka vandu thookitu poidum.
அங்க பாரு போலீஸ் அங்கிள் புடிச்சு கொடுத்துருவாங்க.
A lot of people, now that you say,
and if you don't write homework, the more traumatizing part is not being going to a school without the homework notebook, but coming back home and getting beaten up was the scariest part.
Exactly. So trying to control my kid doesn't work. So having a conversation with him or trying to make him understand, it sort of works.
Now that we have grown up, I think now I whenever I used to talk to my mom, I'll playfully say, இந்த வடிவேல் காமெடி ஒன்று இருக்கும்ல, இந்த மாதிரி என்னடி 10 மணிக்கு உனக்கு தூக்கம், என் தாய் மீனாட்சி 6 மணிக்கு முன்னாடி 6 மணிக்கு அப்புறம். தென் ஐ வில் பி லைக், சின்ன வயசுல என்னெல்லாம் என்ன பண்ண, என்னடி உனக்கு தூக்கம், எந்திரி. And coming to working mom, after you are done with your routine of probably Saturdays and Sundays would probably be occupied with your kids and your family stuff or maybe your friend stuff, 9 to 6 is your job timings, let's assume. So what happens before that 9 a.m. and what happens after that 6 p.m.?
Before I was married, I wake up, I refreshen myself up, then I start getting up ready. My mom will give me my food for the day. Like, bye.
Okay.
So that's all.
Sweet, soft life.
Yes. And அதுக்கே வந்து நம்ம நிறைய டிப்ரெஸ்டா இருப்போம். அது வேற விஷயம். Okay. And after getting married, now we have to wake up. We have to start planning the day before the previous night itself. What we have to do, at what time we will wake up, what we have to cook for the day, how will we, at what time we will leave. So a lot of planning starts after we get married. And now we have to start coordinating with the other person. Right? So it's not just us who's getting up and going to office or having our day. It's like having a partner where we have to also think for them also. So I got married at such a young age, so that person was also young. And it all the responsibilities was on my head.
Right.
So I was very snappy. Right. Okay. Lot of plannings after getting married. Now what changed after having a kid? One more person to think for.
Okay.
Right. So it's like before marriage, it's just you, la. And after marriage, +1.
Okay.
And if you are staying with your in-laws, +2.
Okay.
And after a kid, it's like another +1.
Okay.
Right. So now you have to think for the entire family. And the entire family will have their own. They will all have their own ways. Some doesn't like dosa. Another person will really like idli.
Okay.
And one person will like bread. So it is like planning breakfast for 5 different people or whoever is at home. For different people you have to plan. And in this planning, very rarely you think about yourself.
Correct.
It always comes at the last. It's like by default you will think about others, and then you will start thinking about, okay, what you want to eat. Right. It's sort of, you get to the what is it, the backstage. In Nanban Padathula you will say, life is a race, run. So my mornings will be like running, catching behind time, doing stuff, multitasking. I will burn stuff, I will spill the entire kitchen will be a mess, and I'll be like, okay, I'll come home and then I'll start thinking about it.
Okay.
And then I go drop him off, and then I go to my office, and it is a whole different sort of running there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're switching between two different people.
Yeah.
Right? It's like switch on at office, professional.
Yeah.
Nothing is good. Yeah, nothing is going wrong in my life. I'm perfect. I have perfect life, and I'm so professional. You give me something, I will do it.
Yeah.
So that sort of confident, self you portray, because you don't want others, or especially in work environment, to start people to think that, okay, this person is a mom.
Yeah.
So maybe she cannot handle these things.
Right.
Yeah. So you don't want to put your weak self out there.
Correct.
You will think that, okay, you go back home, you will have a minute of rest, but no, it will be again running at home.
Yeah.
Right? I told you the kitchen, the messy kitchen, and people will be waiting for me to cook up some food for them, and even my son will be like, waiting for me to give or play with him. So it will be a lot of expectations, responsibilities.
There was a show called Desperate Housewives. It's on Amazon. So it's actually an old show, and in that you will have this one very career oriented girl who has these 4-5 kids, and there are these twins that she has who are the naughtiest of all, and who literally drive her crazy. And there will be one scene where so she has 3 friends of hers, and I think she'll be sitting down in a lamppost, under the lamppost, and she'll be crying, saying, I was better at doing my work, and somewhere I feel like I'm not able to handle this, and I feel like I'm not meant for this, and it's too much mental load for me. And all the other women sitting there would be like, no, it's okay, it happens. Even I was like that when my kids were small. But she says, no, you guys were better at it. You guys still managed it. But I'm breaking down every moment. I don't think this is my kind of a plate. At the end of the day, I have to still, lift myself and go and do similar to what you are doing. You say you're going to work and then coming back, you can't show that weak part. Again, because your kids needs you, your family needs you. So it's too much pressure. She will say that I think I'll be a much better CEO than I'm a mom. So that's what she defines her motherhood to be. So for being as a career girl, it's very hard, because you are juggling 2 different things, and you're putting on a suit also sometimes. Sometimes you feel like that person that's there at your home is not even the person that's there in office. I have seen a lot of moms cry in the bathrooms, by the way. A lot of moms in our office who have this one bad day that they want to just hide away from all these people and not make them feel like I'm weak. So all these bathroom crying happens in our ladies toilet and all. I see moms crying. I see moms having a very heartbreaking conversation with their moms or with their husbands.
I cry in my car. My car is my safe space.
Okay.
I go park in my MLCP, right? And I will stay in that car for 1 hour.
Oh God!
Because I am so stuck. I can't get out of the car. And I think one of my friends, he parked next to my car, and he was just waiting for me to come out. I didn't notice him. My songs were full volume, and I'm just crying. And after all, I've settled down, and I'm like, and I'm turning, he's just sitting there. Like, I was just waiting for you, let's go.
When we are talking about this, that you're going through all of these things, I think when we have to take the time out for ourselves, when you mentioned earlier that we put ourselves behind in the back, when we have to take time out for ourselves, or think about, hanging out with a couple of girls that we have, by default, we are always thinking about our kid. It's just not going out of the brain,
it's the
right?
First thing that comes when anybody plans anything. Even family, for that matter, friends or office, or whatever, anything that has my presence there, apart from work. The first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, I have a son. How do I do this? How do I fix it? And I remember one of my friend telling me that you are using your son as an excuse.
Okay.
To
not hang out?
Yeah, to
Okay.
give an excuse, you're using him as an excuse, and that struck me so badly
Okay.
that I remember going back and crying so much.
Okay.
You know, there was that touched a, you know, it struck a chord,
Okay.
and I knew that it was not as an excuse, but it was a genuine feeling.
Right.
But from his experience, he feels like, okay, she has family, so what? Everybody has family. Why is she using it as an excuse every time we have to plan something?
Right.
And but it is not.
Yeah.
It is totally not like that.
Being in marketing also, sometimes as someone who's a product marketer, you there are a lot of occasions where you might have to travel.
True.
And that time you feel so guilty for leaving and focusing on your career. Somewhere I think this is just fed inside women's head, is what I feel, that when we are talking about going out, a guy is able to do it in much more free sense, because he feels like, okay, she's at home, she's going to take care of it, I can have my own time. But even when a guy is at home, we still feel like, no, our kid is there, we have this thing. I think it's kind of fed in ourselves, in our brains.
Yeah, I think we are programmed like that.
way,
I don't know why. It's like men are simple in this case. I feel like, you know, they don't get to this minuscule of emotions, of, you know, how all of these things, they don't see all these things. They're like very, you know, surface level. Right, but women, no, we complicate stuff. We have to get into the details, drill down to the bottom of it. So we are programmed like that, right?
We feel guilty. We also feel scared that what if, I'm traveling all the time and I'm focusing on career, is that going to make my child forget me? Is he going to be more attached to the dad or than me? So tomorrow when I come inside home, when he grows up, he's not going to share all his dates and all the cute thing that happened in his day, because I was never there. I was never a part of his life. So I think it's a lot of scareness and also a little bit of guilt that we carry with ourselves.
More of guilt. Moms, I feel like a lot of moms in general, we worry a lot. It's like we worry a lot.
Women worry a lot. Moms worry a lot more.
True. And with that worriness, there comes this mom guilt. You know, it's like two sides of the coin. Both come together wherever we go.
But I think we have to make the child aware of the kind of work life we have. In a way that, you know, maybe like you say, there are days that you're able to make your son sit down and tell him, okay, amma is not okay. Or when he's able to understand that, I think from the childhood, if he is able to understand that, no, my mom also has a job and she is providing for me, it's not just my dad, so she is juggling both, she's coming back home and cooking for me, which he should be, you know, which I should be appreciative of. Or even if you're not appreciative, at least be, you know, understanding of. I think that's a clear distinction that we tell them, that okay, see, this is how mom's life is going to be. Doesn't mean I'm not going to not love you, doesn't mean I'm not thinking about you, but I still want to do it. I still have my own life and I still want to do it for me. And by taking care of me and by going to work and bringing back the money home, I think I will be able to give you a better life. This kind of talk, I think we have to kind of have with the kids somewhere.
I also feel like so the society that we are, you know, that we are growing up together, right? So in Zoho, it's like most of them are working moms, and in that circle, so I am part of that circle. My son is obviously part of that circle. So for him, it doesn't feel like it is something out of an ordinary. This is normal to him. But why it is different for me, because my mom was not working. She was at home taking care of me, right? And she was always there when I wanted her to be. And she sacrificed everything for me. And it is because of my childhood that I feel like my son's childhood is different or not normal, right? So, but for him, if we see from his perspective, it is very normal. He sees peers who are also, you know, their mothers are also working moms. And after Zoho, everybody will rush, you know, go, they pick our kids. So, but even through then, it is a very conscious decision from a mom's side that we have to, you know, be mindful that it is okay that we put ourselves first. It is okay that we are going out. And you don't have to feel guilty about it.
Right. Yeah.
You don't have to feel guilty for spending a day for yourself, for doing something that is making you happy.
Yeah.
It is okay for you to leave your child at home for a day
Yeah.
or even few days for work. It is okay. And
it is also not necessary for you to handle everything. Like you have to be in the kitchen, you have to do the household work, and you also have to sit down and take care of it. I don't think that's necessary.
True.
If you're not able to do, hire a cook.
Exactly.
If you're not able to come back home and clean your house, hire a help.
True.
If you're away for some days or a few nights and your parents are not available, some women do not have the luxury of having their parents with themselves, hire a nanny. It's not wrong.
Yes.
We are made to feel like you're less of a mother if you are getting help.
Yes.
Which is so wrong.
Less of a mother, and also it is like you are not doing your best to your child.
Right.
That feeling as a mother we get, right? Okay, so maybe I'm not giving him the best.
Right.
As a mother, you always question yourself that am I doing my best for my child? Am I giving him enough? Am I good enough?
Yeah.
So all these questions will be running at the back of your head. So I think we have to calm ourselves down and don't start spiraling, right? But it's okay. You're doing absolute best.
Yeah. There was, I think, some movie. It was about 3 girls traveling to some place, and 3 or 4 rich girls, and they have this, I don't remember what the movie is. They have a bar scene and all of them are sitting together and they are away from their kids and their family and having their own time, and one of them asked them, what do you do when your child cries sometimes? And then she's like, there are times that my child just keeps crying. I go to the other room, lock myself in. What's the movie? I don't.
Sex and the City.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember.
It's a wonderful
movie,
series and as well as a movie.
Yeah.
I love those. I think her name, I forgot her name. I know her.
Yeah.
There was this one particular scene where she has 2 kids, and one will be a toddler and one will be like a baby.
Yeah.
And they will keep crying and the nanny will not be, she will be a little late. She will lose herself. So she will go to not even a room, it will be a cabinet. She will go to the cabinet and she'll start crying. And the kid will be outside banging on the door like, mommy, please come out. Oh yeah, I remember that scene. It was
Yeah, and have you seen one scene from Family Guy where Stewie keeps saying, Mama, Mummy, Mom, Mom, Mom? And seeing that is so irritating, but imagine moms going through
every single day. My son doesn't call me Amma. He rarely calls me Amma. He always calls me Kritika.
Oh,
so
nice.
He was like, Kritika. I'm like, even my mom doesn't call me that much.
Why do you need me so?
But sometimes we get really.
It's weird, right? If you just circle back, how you told me the journey that you've come from. When you were your mother's cute little princess, where everything was handed to you. So from that to now, that time you were not even responsible for your own breakfast. Now you're responsible for a small tiny human. The transformation for you to sit and realize is so like, am I that person that I was all these years back? And it feels nice sometimes.
Okay, so after having my son, it was just a journey of discovery, if I can say that. The first thought after having him was like looking at my body and hating myself.
Okay.
It just came very natural to me. I'm not like that. I love myself. Okay, I know my pros and cons, and I always accepted myself, but I couldn't look at myself in the mirror.
Right.
I had a C-section.
Okay.
And it was horrific. Even if I close my eyes, I can still see.
Okay.
I took a picture of myself and I just cried. I cried my balls, like, who am I? What happened to me? Am I the same person? I felt really lost. So a lot of people say that after having a child, they will go through this post-pregnancy depression. I didn't get into that. I was not depressed. Rather, it was an entirely opposite feeling. I was, there was a lot of adrenal rush. I wanted to prove to myself. I wanted to see my capabilities. I wanted to see what I can bring to my life. Will motherhood stop me? Am I stopping myself? It is my own thing. So it was a lot of questions, and I was pushing through every single day. So it was during a COVID time, we were all at home. So I didn't want to, just stay as how I was before. I wanted to somehow, reach to that next level. I don't know where it all came from. It was a sudden emotions, maybe could be from the pregnancy. I don't know.
I feel like maybe it is because when you're delivering your child, you would be in that maternity leave, no? That time that maybe so a few women face this. I have a similar story that you said. One of the person that I know. So she's someone who's so driven at work, and she's always out there to get what she wants, and she was in a very good position too. During her pregnancy time, the times that she had to take maternity leave and be at home is when she felt like she's worthless.
Okay, all right.
Maybe because I was someone just a month before, even before I had to take the pregnancy leave, I was someone who was still going to office, who was still working, who had something going on for myself in my life. And then suddenly when I am being a mother and I delivered the baby, now I feel like a part of me needs to be belong to that baby. So will I not be able to go and get back my career? Will it stop me? Is this baby going to demand more of me? Is it going to stop my career? Is my lifestyle going to change? I have a feeling maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could be one of those feelings that driven me, to doing all of those stuff. So I became an entirely different person, where it felt like I have to prove to myself that, it was like not proving. I just wanted to know who I was.
Right.
So it was that sort of a feeling that actually drove me.
Right.
I started a YouTube channel, and I started learning stitching.
Okay.
And I did this day 1 of 365, where I do painting every single day.
Wow. Okay.
So I started doing it regularly, and my friends and my family were like, what are you doing? Just come, just enjoy, be in the present. Why do you have to put yourself through all of these things? But it was not that. I was enjoying. And because I was enjoying all of these things, I feel like I was able to give more to my son also.
Right.
So in that manner, I learned that
maybe your way of putting it is maybe being productive. You just maybe there might have been some productivity guilt that you might have. Maybe I'm not being creative enough, and I need to get that thing creative flow going on, so that I am able to be productive first. I'm able to keep myself happy first, so that I can put it out to my son.
Exactly. So that's exactly the point that I was going to say. So when I said that by default you put yourself to the last, right? But when you do that over a period of time, you will not be able to provide to anybody, much less to yourself.
Right.
At one point you will be depressed. You will fall. You will be at your bottom. But instead, if you start putting yourself first, if you keep giving yourself, you will have more to give to other people, especially to your kid. And you will be able to better manage things. Is something that I learned initially as well. So
this is also a science, no? I had a conversation with one of the person, and so we had this one night, and we were both sitting together, and then I was talking to them about life and all of that, and they said that I asked them this question: you're doing so much for everybody, doesn't it exhaust you on the inside? No, I think people are happy. As long as they are happy, I think I should be okay with it. And then I had a very different opinion from what they said. I said, there's only so much you can give. You need something to refill it back.
True.
So you need a source so that you can be the source for somebody else. You cannot be this constant giver all the time, taking care of everything and a lot of people all together and weighing and letting it weigh you down. It will be fancy. You come out and say like, no, everybody's happy and all of that. But when you sit down in a very dark room, in the middle of the night when all the sound goes off and there's nothing else that's running in your head, you don't have work, you're all quiet and sitting down by yourself, that's when you will start feeling that hitting back.
Yeah.
So it comes from a cycle of who should be the source and what can be your source.
True. It is ebb and flow, right?
Yeah.
Something as if you're putting out the energy, it has to come to you also.
Yeah.
And only then it will start ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it like you cannot. How can you fill from an empty cup?
Yeah.
Right? You will become so empty, and that is the point where you get depressed. You're like completely burnt out.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to anybody. You're at a shell.
I said this
shell.
very recently, the same sentence you said. I said this very recently. I told that I feel like maybe I'm an empty bottle. I don't know how to fill your cup. I said it this way. But yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, I think we should all be mindful whether, humans in general, like how much can you give to others, and you should be thinking about how much you can give to yourself also. But like you said, became fancy that, or we can say it in a fancier way, like I'm a giver, but a giver is also a receiver.
Correct. Yeah.
That we don't realize it.
Yeah.
No, it's
also women, I think, are portrayed as this whole sacrificial
I know
goddess,
yes,
who can sacrifice everything and who's supposed to sacrifice everything. So if it's not it's not, if you're even thinking 1% about you, then it's somewhere portrayed as selfishness. Like you're being selfish, you're not being sacrificial to your relationship or to your family, then it's portrayed in a wrong way also.
True.
I don't think you have to sacrifice. I think these thought processes are what had to be rooted out from everybody's head.
True.
Women themselves, sometimes they feel like they are in the position of sacrifice, so it's okay if the man goes and enjoys, it's fine. If he's not able to contribute, it's fine. I still have to take care of everything, it's fine. No, it's not fine.
It is not fine.
You
True.
don't have to sacrifice, and it is not fine is something that we have to start talking more about.
I think once a woman, especially a married woman, once she realizes this fact that okay, I am able to manage and I am becoming independent all on my own.
Yeah.
What is the point of a husband?
Correct.
So there is a point where a woman will feel in our marriage that what is the other person giving?
Right.
And once that awareness starts settling in and your patience and everything is gone, it's when the men also awaken to the fact that okay, I am doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And once they awaken to the fact that okay, now there needs to be a balance.
My mom went through this phase too. So as we started growing up, she felt like there's a void in herself, and she would just go to different classes. Like one day she's coming with a bunch of candle waxes and making candles at home. And one day she started learning painting, and she started learning embroidery. She started learning stitching, and everything, literally everything. She tried to do her own, business. Like she went into the insurance thing. Maybe if you can sell insurance, maybe it will make you feel happy. Then there was this point where she even went to one software company where they kind of do some back-end coding or something, and then maybe if we can have a career through that. So the actual thing is, sometimes we feel like being a mother will complete us.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It feels like, okay, getting married, being the mother, having this beautiful child in your lap is just a wonderful life that you will have. But no, you have to have something for yourself.
True.
Honestly speaking, we at home respect our fathers more than our mothers. We see them as our emotional punch bags. Our mothers are more for venting out, and mothers are more for getting angry at, because we feel like, okay, they are just staying at home. There are times that I have asked my mother, when we were all growing up. But when it comes to dad, I still have a, neenga vaanga ponga to dads compared to how we talk to our mothers.
True.
It's mostly because we feel like they don't have a career, and sometimes we even shut them up saying whatever you're saying is not valid because you're not in the outer world.
Yeah, you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, you don't know what's happening. Dad comes from a very good office, and he's got his own colleagues and his own circle, and he's well read and well aware of things compared to you. my mother might not know how to speak good English, but she will have a good sense of what that problem is. But sometimes we just deny because we feel like, okay, the mother is just at home. So I feel that a lot of times women feel we are being said that நீ ஒரு பொண்ணுன்னா கல்யாணம் பண்ணிக்கோ, கல்யாணம் பண்ண உடனே ஒரு 2 வருஷத்துல குழந்தை வந்துடணும், குழந்தை வரலன்னா ஏன் குழந்தை வரலன்னு ஒரு 10 பேர் கேட்க வந்துருவாங்க.
அதுக்காகவே நீ குழந்தை பெத்து. That's how it happened for me. Okay. That's exactly how it happened for me. So when you spoke about your mom, no, I think in our family, my mom, she didn't study, so she only did 10th, and she really liked studying, and she went and asked her dad. At that time she was in Kerala, and Kerala la vanda appo like it is not safe for women to go and study. So my grandfather said to her like, no, you have to sit at home. And that was always there inside her heart. You know, she always felt that feeling like, if only I studied, you know, I would have directed you in a very different path. If only I had studied, I could have been a better mom to you. And if only I studied and I went to work, you would have lived a very different life. And she had a very difficult childhood, and even after marriage she had a very difficult marriage. And throughout her life she faced a lot of difficulties and challenges, and it didn't even struck me that she could break. You know, she is not a person that nothing can break her. You know, I had a feeling that sort of an image that I had inside my head, it just broke when she got into a depression. Right? It was like an awakening that, okay, even moms can go into depression. Moms are not this solid stuff. And once she went into depression, everything started changing in our lives. And only then that we realized that what sort of a role that she was playing, and how she was holding the entire family together. What the responsibilities and the heaviness that she has been carrying for so long. How difficult it must have been for her. So this realization came at a much later stage, right? And my mom went to severe depression. She couldn't be saved. Okay. Yeah, so trigger warning. I should have said it.
It's okay. Yeah.
So yeah, she couldn't I couldn't save her. We couldn't do anything about it. She committed suicide. And after that, it is like, it is no, I'm all right. After that, it is I realized that how important it is to take care of one's parents and also yourself. So it is like the entire family has to come together to make or to run a family. It is not a single person show.
Right.
And that should be avoided. The very reason that I am saying this right now, it's because we are in a stage where our parents are becoming old. Right? And it is high time that we realize that it is not just us that we go into depression. Our parents can also go into depression. Right? And that awareness should be created more, right? And that is one of the reasons I was very excited to come and talk. Okay. Excited in the sense that more and more people should realize this. And when you said that, you know, you didn't want whatever happened to you to pull you down, and you didn't want to show that sort of a story to the outside world, and that's why you created this and you started this. And I could relate it to it so much that, because when someone is talking to me, they wouldn't even, you know, have a slightest point of what I've went through in my life. She would, the first feeling that they would get from me, okay, she's such a cheerful person. No, she's very, you know, she brings a beautiful feeling inside me, and I like to, you know, have her in my life. So that's sort of the impression that I give to people. But the ones they sit and talk to me, it is like they understand what I went through.
Where
and
you're coming from.
Yes, and it is not difficult. You know, but life is serious. Right? Life is serious, but it is okay.
The fact that you have your eyes are wet, but at the same time you also have a smile on your face while you are telling this entire thing. I don't think even I have that courage that you have to come and share this kind of a personal story. When I was starting this podcast, I think I told you it is not to highlight all the happy things. That's we both going to do the red color challenge, blue color challenge. No, this the whole point of the podcast was to bring out stories like this. I am doing a podcast, it's fine, but for you to come on this stage and share your story with a smile on your face, I don't think I would have done that.
It's been a difficult year. I think it's just been 5 months that it happened, and after she passed away, my grandmother also passed away. So 2 deaths in the family, and I realized that it's just life. Right. I read this one beautiful line, I think in a reel, not in a book. In a reel, they said that if the world doesn't break you, it kills you. I don't know who said it or whatsoever, what sort of mindset they would have been when they wrote this, but I am trying it not to break me, not to kill me, but to live with whatever the challenges that I am facing. So somewhere I think the entire motherhood has given me that courage. All these things, whatever the challenges that we face, they somehow, make us strong. Right? It's like evlo adichalu taanguonda
pinadi satta kilchikadu mattu kaamikka mattum.
So it's sort of like that.
I feel like everybody should just let women be women. That was the essence of the podcast when I wanted to start it. I have seen my chitti, so she did not have a kid until 5 years of her marriage, and it was not even her fault. So there was something problem with her husband. But wherever she went, it was pinpointed on her. I have seen her sitting down a lot of times, crying in the bedroom. I've seen her sticking all the baby photos on the walls, so that somewhere that will,
manifesting.
That will make her pregnant. And she has gone so many treatments. Today, if you see, if the husband is not able to, give birth, the pressure is more on the wife, because all the IUI treatments that you go through are for the women. So the physical trauma and the emotional trauma is more on the women, because by default people think if she's not able to conceive, then it is her fault. It's not the husband's fault. And my chitti, constantly her own mother-in-law, from her everybody around her, why are you not pregnant? She couldn't go to a function because they would think that a woman who cannot conceive is not considered to be a good woman to be in a happy environment. So that's still happening in our country. We have to acknowledge that. It's easy for people to say that why do you have to talk about all these things on a podcast, but if we are not talking about it, who is going to talk about it?
True.
If we are not the voices of people, the kind of people that we have traveled with, then who else will be? So I've seen her face so much. So it was like, you have to get married and immediately you have to have a baby, and she never had, and it wasn't even her fault. And for something that isn't her fault, she went through 8 IUI treatments. And to be very honest, I'm kind of shivering when I'm saying this. So IUI treatments are mostly where they insert the long syringe, and then they impregnate the ovary.
Yes.
And it is very painful. You have to stay still in that position, lay down still in that position for a couple of hours, so that the treatment also goes on, and also it's not disturbed in any way. So she went through 8 procedures and she still couldn't conceive.
And not just that, after getting that injection, your body will be pumped with a lot of
hormonal
tablets. So I had to go through it. Mine was I conceived naturally, but I had to go through all of these stuff because I have this heart-shaped uterus. And some high-risk thing only. But I know I have seen someone who was traveling alongside with me during that journey, and Oh God, it is real
Terrifying.
lot of things.
Yeah. Men can sit by our side, hold our hands, and say it's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, we are the ones who are going through it.
Yes.
They cannot take our pain away. They can comfort us, but the pain is still in us. So at least the thing is, for a woman, giving birth is not the ultimate thing that she has to do. Being a mother doesn't make you a holy goddess.
True.
For God's sake, we have to put this in everybody's head, saying that it's not important for you to be a mother. It's not important for you to listen to all of those people. Don't have them in your life. If even if it is a closest relative who is coming and sitting down with the couple and talking about why you're not having kids and all that, putting that pressure on, I will say don't have them in your life.
Yeah.
It's very hard to, you'll be, no, they are very close relative, you can't. Then choose not to listen to them. You have your own life. It could be because they planned to not have a kid. It could be because they don't want to have a kid. It could be because there is some problem with either of the couple. So why are you being so judgmental about women who have to give birth? We are not meant to only procreate. That's not why God brought us in. It's one of our part. Okay, we have a ovary, we have a uterus, so we can give birth. It's just one aspect of us. That cannot define us. You're a very successful CEO, you're a very good career-oriented woman, but her life is empty, no? She just doesn't have a kid. That's the perception that is thrown at women.
Yeah.
That is so wrong. I have seen a lot of women who are in leadership position who choose not to have kids.
Yeah.
They are 35, 37, 40. They choose not to have a kid because it's a decision that the couples have taken together. So you really cannot question them on that, right? Or also judge them on that. That's very wrong, I feel.
We have a long way to go.
Also, I think from corporate point of view, I think we should, if you see countries like all these Scandinavian countries, right? Like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, they have really good paternal leave.
True.
It's not just maternal leave, it's just that maternity or paternity leave, it's just that both of the husbands and the wives, they can avail
both are responsible. So that's sort of a story that they are bringing in.
They are bringing in, and they are in Sweden, if you see, they are offering up to 480 days of leave. In Norway, it will be 48 weeks, and then in Denmark, it will be 52 weeks, where the husband has to equally divided. So you can take care of the kid for these many days, and your wife can take care of the kid these many days. And they also have something called as 25% of your working hours can be reduced until your child is 8 years old.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah, in Sweden, they have this thing. Also, Finland is the happiest country in the world. Why do you?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a coincidence.
How is that possible?
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that it's the happiest country in the world. It's because of the societal framework that they have built, and they have made it good for their people. So that's why India has a long way to go. India, we have maternity leave until 26 weeks or something. There are laws saying that there has to be equal pay, and then women have to have these creche and all of that. But how many companies are following that?
No. Very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And even that, apart from the lot of pressure that a woman has to go through this pregnancy and motherhood, they'll also have to be thinking about, if I lose my job,
correct,
what if I lose my project, what if my teammates forget about me, what if my manager is not giving me the hike that I did for the previous, before going to my maternity leave. So all these things are going inside your head. And it was very difficult for me also. So very rarely that companies or the society is coming together to support women or parents in that manner. But I am very grateful for Zoho in that way, because of that, whatever policies and the flexibility that they are bringing in, and I am able to take care and balance it to some certain extent.
You know what? There are also hiring biases for women. If you're a woman who is about to get, so when in some companies, when you go out and you're giving an interview, the first question that HR asks is, are you planning to get married?
Yeah.
And that's the first question. Second question is, do you have any kids? And your application gets rejected because you have a 2-year-old son or a daughter, because they feel like you'll not be able to be as productive as someone who's not having a kid. All of these biases are literally there.
Very true. I think in one of my friend's company also, she was asked if she'll be having a kid anytime soon. And in one particular team, it is all men,
Yeah.
And the manager was like, I don't want to hire a women because அவ வந்து மெட்டர்னிட்டி லீவுக்கு போயிடுவா 6 மாசம் வரமாட்டா அப்புறம் வருவாளான்னு கூட தெரியாது. So this was the exact statement a manager is giving.
What are the qualities or values that you want your son to take with him? Even after you're not there, because we will only be able to impart so much values inside them until they are 13 years old. After that, they're going to have their own life. They are not even going to be with us. Like, they'll have their own world.
Yeah.
Like, can you stop? I don't want to be with you is the reaction that they're going to give us.
True.
But even after, until he becomes that 13 years old, these are the values that I want to impart in him as a mother. Do you have something like that?
Okay, so the first thing that I would inculcate in him is that respect elderly people. I feel like it is not stressed enough in society. Even if you see outside, an younger person would just, I saw a video on Instagram where a person, I think he's a YouTube influencer or whatever, a grandfather or an elderly person is cycling, and he threw something on his face as a content.
Okay.
I mean, how insensitive it is.
Yeah.
And we also, there is even in entertainment industry, when it comes to elderly people, it is like sotta avan kadakran. So all these things I don't personally, I don't like it. It is something that I'm trying to teach him from now itself, like grandfathers, grandmothers, and to outside society, that he should really respect the elderly people, right? And that one thing that I would really want to inculcate in him. And another thing is respect women.
Yeah.
Right? Respect women. You have to respect women.
Yeah.
So and the third thing is that I would tell him, try to teach him not to get influenced by other people's opinion.
Right.
You should have your own value system that you should stand by. As a mother, you can only be responsible to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You cannot tie yourself to your son, to their failures, to their success, and think that, okay, if they succeed, my life is fulfilled. If they fail, my life is a failure. We should stop that and understand that they are an individual on their own.
Abdul Kalam said, no, your children are only through you and not from you. You don't own them. That's one of the reasons why we are saying that sometimes we as women are being fed this thought that having a kid, having multiple kids, and the moment, even sometimes kids can even say failed marriages are something that we are, as a society, we are being told. So we just think, okay, now that my kid is born, all I have to do is just shift my career aside, and when I focus on my kid, then everything is going to be beautiful, and that's it. That's my life. My kid is my life. That is bullshit.
True. That is just you're projecting your entire life onto that child.
Yeah, that's
and it's
bullshit.
So much pressure on the child, no?
So for being a mother, nobody is going to give you a crown. Let's be realistic about it. There are going to be the son or the daughter for whom you have put so much love and affection, tomorrow might get angry at you, might even move out of your house. You never know. It's their life. So even despite we are talking about inculcating a lot of values inside of them, but tomorrow they have their own life.
True.
If they choose to not be with you, you can't question, I spent all these years
just
raising you.
உனக்காக நான் என்னெல்லாம் பண்ணேன்,
நீ மட்டும் எனக்கு பிறக்கல அப்படின்னா நான் எப்படி இருப்பேன் தெரியுமா? So you can't,
that's just bullshit.
You can't put that thing. So you have to have your own career, you have to have your own life. First of all, having a kid doesn't mean your life is fulfilled, to be honest.
Yes,
that's the truth.
All these bottom line truth.
And another thing is, more than inculcating value to your kids, I think putting them in the right spots at the right time as a parent. If you are able to do that, then that's great. Like for example, I'm someone who doesn't believe in the education system at all. Like I will not put my kid in some random CBSE or a metric or whatever ICSE school. I want my son or daughter to experience that vocational education, to understand what he is good at, so that he can shine through it. Don't run behind marks. Don't run that race where everybody wants to get into IITs and NITs, because I was put in that race. I don't want my son or daughter to go through that thing alone. Even if he wants to be an artist, I'm more than happy to support. But don't get into this whole thing of wanting to be a doctor, wanting to be an engineer.
நண்பன் படத்துல எனக்கு இன்ஜினியர் பிறந்துட்டான்
அந்த மாதிரி மைண்ட் செட்டே இப்போ ஈவன் நம்ம ஜெனரேஷன்ல இருக்கிற அம்மாஸ்க்குலாம் கூட அந்த மைண்ட் செட்
இருக்கு. டெஃபினெட்லி இருக்கு. they have this, okay, my kid is special. மத்த கிட்ட பாக்கும்போது என் பையன் வந்து கொஞ்சம் நல்ல பெட்டர், நல்லா வருவான், டாக்டர் ஆவான். என்னடா பேசுறீங்க? என் பையன்
இன்டர்நேஷனல் ஸ்கூல்ல படிக்கிறான் தெரியுமா?
ICSE
படிக்கிறான், பிரெஞ்சு படிக்கிறான், அவன் ஜெர்மன் தெரியும். தெரிஞ்ச என்ன, அவன் பாரிஸ்ல போய் வரணும், அவனே கத்துக்க போறான். அதெல்லாம் சின்ன வயசுல இருந்தே டார்ச்சர் பண்ணி ஏன் கத்து கொடுக்கணும் இஸ் மை பாயிண்ட். If that education system of the kid is very right and he is just given that freedom to explore. A lot of autistic kids are put in this kind of systems.
True.
Where they are able to come out with what they like
and do what they are good at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that's something that I am particularly very keen on. And another thing I will agree with you is respecting women. If we are not able to tell our sons how to treat their women, how to treat any women,
yeah.
Then we are not making this society any safer for women like us.
True.
So the teaching starts from the house is what I would say.
Definitely.
And also I really admire Kareena Kapoor for some reason. She flaunts her baby bumps wherever she's going. One of the Coffee with Karan episodes, she is coming up with her white dress with her baby bump out there, and it is super cool. It's like sometimes when we are becoming the moms, we go and hide, like, no, my belly shouldn't be seen.
கண்ணு வச்சிருவாங்க.
So I am all in for flaunting my belly like anything, doing interviews, going traveling here and there. I think that's just part of you. Why do you have to be so cautious about it?
அதுதான் அப்படியே சொல்லி வந்து அங்க இருந்தே ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் எல்லாம் ஆரம்பிச்சிரும்.
ஆமா அது எனக்கு தெரியல, I don't know. But yeah, this was I think a lot of moms would be able to relate to this.
True.
A lot of moms would have had this inside of them but wouldn't have spoken it out loud. So I think this episode is something of that sort.
We are all in it together.
Yeah.
So don't get influenced by whatever you see online.
Yeah.
And a mom influencer, as a mom, you start following all these mom influencers, whatever they say, the tips or the advices that they give. And despite being a mom, they will, there is this societal pressure that even as a mom, I have achieved so much. So even that becomes a stress for certain mothers, that okay, maybe I am a very tiny bit in this life. Maybe I am not enough. They might be already feeling a lot of emotions, and I would say to them that don't get influenced. You have your own life. You are special in your own way. If you like doing something, you do it, and be happy. Right?
So sweet, so nice of you to come and share. I think you've been one of the most very honest and authentic person I've had talking to in a podcast. To just be you and just share your thoughts, share your feelings, and not think about, if I'm going to put this out loud, what are people going to think about me? It's a personal story that I'm going to share, and it might not be perceived well, or I'm sharing my opinion. Am I going to be judged for it? You never had anything of that sort, and I'm so happy that I have a very authentic person to talk in this podcast.
I am just happy that I was able to do this, because I had a lot of it was like double-minded thing only. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Would I put myself out there and become vulnerable? So obviously I had all these feelings, but then while just starting from my home, I read one line from How to Calm Your Mind, something, that book. I just read one line where if you don't do it, you will never know.
Yeah.
So it just motivated me.
Okay, I think I should thank that book.
Yeah.
Because of the one line you came here to share your story. And thank you so much, Kritika.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.